So let's get to it. Let's talk vitamin B12 and why it's important and how to spot if you maybe have a deficiency. So I got tested at the back end of last year and my vitamin B12 levels are 207 out of a range of 180 to 900, I believe. That means that I'm on the kind of lower end. The only issue is UK doctors don't treat for vitamin B12 deficiency if you're above 180. But there is countries in this world that consider that anything 200 to 250 as a deficiency, so you would be treated for that. Sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on Pepper. How did I identify I had a B12 deficiency? Now, for the last 5 years or so, maybe 6 years since I had a really bad bout of food poisoning and COVID in 2020, I've made a video about anxiety and it's all in there about what happened. I have suffered with brain fog, fatigue, nerve, I wouldn't say pain, but more like pins and needles. I've had it in the left hand side of my face, in my left arm. Don't worry guys, it's not a stroke, because I have been to hospital to see if it was a stroke and it wasn't. They actually checked and everything was fine. They couldn't explain what this was. Also, I've had anxiety and some depression as well, which I couldn't put my finger on what was going on. I couldn't understand why I wasn't feeling great. But then when I've looked at my blood results over the past 5 years, because I've had hundreds of bloods taken over the last 5 years to find out what's actually going on with us, and when I looked at my blood results over the past 5 years, it actually turns out that I was deficient the whole time, being as low as 186 sometimes. Hiya Pepper, just making a video. So yeah, it does turn out that I've actually been deficient for quite a while in vitamin B12. Now, I did stumble across a group on Facebook which was about pernicious anemia and vitamin B12 deficiency. Now, I don't have pernicious anemia because I've had all my iron levels checked, my folate levels and stuff like that, but I do believe that my body is struggling to absorb vitamin B12, and I believe this is caused by a few certain things which I'm going to touch on in another video. So what am I doing about it? In fact, no, not what am I doing about it. What is B12 and why is it important? Now, B12 is what I consider, after research on ChatGPT and YouTube and Google and stuff, I consider it a super vitamin. It helps the brain talk to the body. It helps in the production of red blood cells. It also helps the body carry oxygen around the body, so it helps the blood carry oxygen around the body. It's vital for your brain health, so it's like a superfood for your brain. And it also protects the spinal cord and the nerves in the spinal cord as well. But it's actually involved in a lot of other things as well. I could go on and on and on, but they're the most important things. So that's what vitamin B12 is. How is vitamin B12 absorbed? So you normally find B12 in meat, eggs, dairy products, some fish, and it's normally absorbed through the stomach. The stomach produces something called an intrinsic factor protein, and the B12 binds to that protein and gets into your cells and your blood and stuff like that. Now, it's vitally important that you have other vitamins alongside B12. They're called cofactors. This is what I found out off YouTube. Now, the cofactors of B12 are magnesium, the other B vitamins, so like B6, and folate and iron as well. So if you are low in any of them, your body might not absorb B12, or it won't absorb it efficiently and it won't do its job properly. So they're things that you need to be aware of as well. Now, it's certain magnesiums, it's not all magnesiums. There's glycinate, citrate and other magnesiums as well. I'm not quite sure which one it is. I need to do some more research, but if they're low in your body won't absorb B12 efficiently. You might also find that when you get your blood results done at the doctors and you get your bloods done and you get your results, that the B12 is shown as sufficient, but because you haven't got these other vitamins, it might be sufficient in your blood, but it isn't doing its job. It isn't being absorbed properly. So that's vitamin B12. It's vitally important, and it combats like fatigue, brain fog, depression, anxiety, your nerves. And it is something that I believe I'm deficient in, because like I said to you earlier, they would treat me in other countries for my levels and I would be treated like that. I wouldn't have to fight for it, I would just be treated. And the doctors in the UK say no, because I'm above 180. But I am at the very low end of what the NICE guidelines, which is what the GPs go with in the UK. I'm at the very bottom end of that. And even though I present the symptoms and I've told them about the symptoms, they still refuse to treat me, which is weird. So this is why I'm treating myself with this vitamin here. I'm taking this on a morning with healthy fats, walnuts, my porridge, and I'm taking 1 ml per day to see if that improves my symptoms. And if that does improve my symptoms, great. If not, then I will be looking to get the B12 injections. Now this bypasses your gut, goes straight into your bloodstream, and it helps your body absorb it quicker. The only thing is with B12 injections is sometimes when you start them, you can't stop them. You've got to stay on them for life, and they can be quite expensive. Now we see a lot of these aesthetics people that do the lip fillers and the eye fillers and cheek fillers and stuff like that. They offer B12 as an injection, and people think, oh, I'll go and get a B12 injection, I'll be absolutely mint, it'll be fine. And yeah, for some people that probably works, but for a lot of people it won't. One B12 injection ain't gonna cure a B12 deficiency, not even in the short term. You need to have them quite regular if you are B12 deficient and you can't absorb B12. And you need to get, like I say, you need to get them regular, and that should be done through your GP. And you can fight the GP, or you can argue your case with the GP using the NICE guidelines as well. And best thing to do is to write a letter with all of your symptoms, quote the NICE guidelines, NICE guidelines, and you might actually get somewhere. Now 40 quid a shot for 1 B12, which is what the aesthetics people charge, that does seem quite cheap to feel better. But I've had a B12 injection off one of these people, and as much as the girl who did it was lovely, you know, really careful, really clean, I didn't feel any better at all. Not even 2, 3, 4 days later, I just didn't feel any better. I was like, oh, that's a waste of money. So now I'm exploring other ways of raising my B12, and it's going to be my diet, it's going to be the actual B12 vitamin myself orally, and it's going to be the other cofactors. And I'm also going to be starting to take something called betaine, which is like a digestive enzyme. So you take one of them about an hour before food, and it helps you digest your food and pull all the nutrients you can from your food. So that's my B12 deficiency explained. That's the B12 vitamin explained. This is just stuff I found out myself, guys. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to sit here and preach to everyone, but this is readily available information on the internet and on ChatGPT and on YouTube. Let's talk vitamin D. What is vitamin D? So vitamin D acts like a hormone, kind of is a hormone, I suspect. It basically goes into your blood, it's stored in the liver, and it's activated by the kidneys. It's used for directing calcium to your bones, in your teeth. It also protects the immune system and stops you getting repeated infections. It helps with mood as well, especially depression and low mood, and anxiety. It helps with that. Basically, it stabilizes the body with regards to them nasty hormones that make you feel bad, give you depression, give you anxiety. How do you get vitamin D? So your main source of vitamin D is the sun, and as you can see up there, there ain't no sun, and in the winter we really struggle with it. And I struggle with it especially because my job is predominantly based indoors. So even in the summer, I'm indoors most of the day. And, you know, I'm a heating engineer, so I'm under floorboards, I'm in cupboards, I'm, you know, under the stairs, things like that. And you don't get any sun in there. I also wear a lot of protective gear as well when I'm doing my work. So I'll normally have long sleeves on for when I'm doing soldering work. So when I do go outside briefly, I'm not getting any sun through my skin or my arms. I normally wear a cap as well, probably because I have a receding hairline. So I don't get much on my face either. So I do really struggle to get vitamin D. I am deficient in vitamin D. My levels are 50 out of a range of 50 to 999. And I've always been deficient in vitamin D. Oh, 2 seconds, here's my coffee. She's feeling a bit better, I think. Still coughing like she's a man that smokes 80 fags a day though. But yeah, as I was saying, I've always been deficient in vitamin D, and the doctors say that my level at 50 is okay, but it isn't. It's not, of course it's not okay. It's right on the bottom of what it should be. So I need to try and increase my vitamin D levels, which is what I am doing with these supplements here. Now, I paid a little bit more for these supplements because they do contain K2, and they also are a soft gel supplement, so they will digest quicker in my stomach and my body will absorb the vitamin D easier than it would do if it was one of them hard tablets that you get. Now, that's not the optimal way to actually get vitamin D into your body. The optimal way is the sun. So this year I'm going to make a conscious effort that even when I'm at work, I'm going to have my lunch outside the van in the sun. So I'm going to, you know, if I'm at a house working, I'm going to come outside, I'm going to have my lunch sat outside on the grass, and I'm going to, you know, take any tops I've got off or anything like that. And I'm going to try and absorb a vitamin D naturally. Now, why is vitamin D important? Vitamin D kind of like directs calcium to your bones. It helps with mood. And the biggest thing I think is it helps your immune system to avoid repeat infections. Now, I've got sinus issues. I have done for about 4 years. I've had an operation on my sinuses, constantly getting infections, repeated infections. And as a result of that, I go to the doctors. The doctors give me antibiotics, which I'm going to touch on in a little while. They give me antibiotics, and they give me steroid drops. It clears it up. 2-3 weeks later, it's back again. I'm constantly backwards and forwards to the doctors with these repeated infections. And that's probably as a result of my vitamin D being quite low, which, you know, I've known I've been deficient for years, but I've never really done anything about it. I've never took a supplement. I've never tried to get exposure to the sun as much. And I think a little bit of that is I'm hesitant for the sun because I'm fair-skinned, and, you know, you hear all these horror stories about cancer and stuff like that. And I don't really like to sunbathe. I'm one of these people that's got to be up and down and doing something. So even when we go on holiday, I'm not just laying in the sun all day. I'm in the pool, or I'm out and about in the local areas doing local stuff like walking and, you know, things like that. So I'm not necessarily I'm not the most disciplined when it comes to getting vitamin D. What am I going to do about it? Well, I'm going to take these supplements, but I'm also going to take the core factors that are needed as well. And I'm hoping to get them mostly from my diet, things like magnesium and zinc and K2. But I know for a fact that I'm probably a little bit low on these as well. And vitamin D won't work without magnesium. Magnesium is like a super vitamin. You need it for a lot of other vitamins to work. Zinc as well is, again, a super vitamin. You need it for a lot of other things to work. So I'm going to be doing a lot of supplements alongside my diet to try and raise this. And in a few months' time, I will be going to the doctors and getting them to redo my bloods to make sure that the work I'm doing to try and increase my vitamin levels is working. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it will. Now, a consequence of not having the correct vitamins is things like having no get up and go, not having anxiety, depression, low mood. And, you know, I think that I'm partly responsible for not making sure that I'm eating right and getting the vitamins from my food. I'm not having a little bit of sun during the day, and I'm not taking care of my body, so I'm partly responsible. I do have to lay a little bit of the blame at some of the GPs that I go to, because they don't kind of like, they don't instill upon you how important vitamins are. You go into a GP's office, you go into a surgery for an appointment, you tell them how you feel, and they go, oh, here's some antidepressants. And, you know, and some people do need antidepressants. I've needed them in the past, and I think they are vitally important for some people's mental health. But I also think that our mental health problems that we struggle with in this country, and especially people my age, is because we're not looking after ourselves properly. The other thing about vitamin D as well is, if you're overweight, if you're fat, if you've got a lot of weight around your stomach and around your organs, vitamin D just gets stored in the fat, and it's not used, because your body only uses the vitamin D that's stored in your liver. So if you've got a load of fat around your liver, fatty liver syndrome, which I've got non-alcoholic fatty liver, I've been told by the doctors, I'm going to struggle to absorb vitamin D into my liver where it's needed, because that's where the kidneys activate from. So to summarize, vitamin D levels, optimal levels are between 75 and 150. So if you've had your bloods done, check what they are. Most of it comes from the sun, especially UVB rays in the sun that activates it in the skin. It can cause anxiety, depression, low mood, repeated infections. It can cause stress fractures. If you're a young kid, it can, inhibit bone development. If you're an older adult, so if you've become towards pension age and stuff like that, it can cause, at the worst, osteoporosis. Can cause more falls, more breaks. So it's really important. Again, for me, it's a super vitamin like B12. If you don't have the levels that you need to have, you're going to be poorly, and you're not going to be wanting to go out and do exercise or eat right or anything like that. Oh God, I've lost something. The little button, my tripod came, so I've actually got a tripod now with lights on. As you can see, I think the lights are a bit better. And the little button can go on or off for the video. I think that's great. That. From China, like 18 quid, unreal. Right, why do I think I have these deficiencies? Right, so my diet has always been varied. I eat a lot of processed junk and a lot of shit and, a lot of sugar. But I also eat a lot of veg and meats and stuff like that. Most of my diet, on a night time when I get home, Mrs. Murphy feeds me well. Like, she feeds me too much. We call her a feeder. In fact, her and her sisters, they're all feeders. All the men that are married to the sisters are on the bigger side. So, but I do eat well. I eat a lot of veg. I eat a lot of fruit. I eat a lot of meat. But I'm not absorbing these vitamins and minerals that I need. And I think the reason for that is, back in 2020, when I was poorly, I touched on this in my anxiety video, I got a really bad case of food poisoning, I got a really bad stomach infection, and I had COVID alongside that. I was given 3 antibiotics a day, two antibiotics 3 times a day, and I was on them for nearly 2 months. Now that destroyed my gut bacteria, completely destroyed it. Destroyed the bad stuff and, obviously made me well again, but destroyed all the good stuff. And for a long time after that, and this is gross by the way, but I need to talk about it. For a long time after that, when I used to go to the toilet for a number 2, when you looked at what you'd deposited in the toilet, there was a lot of food in it. Like whole food still. So you would expect things like sweet corn, because the body doesn't digest the husk of a sweet corn. But things like broccoli, carrots, other vegetables as well, you could literally see it there. It just wasn't digesting at all. And this was because the antibiotics I had completely destroyed my gut bacteria. Now, what I did as a result of that is I started eating a lot of sauerkraut, which was meant to be good for your good bacteria. Started doing them bacteria drinks as well, like Yakult and stuff like that. And it did steadily improve, but it was still probably not to its optimum level. And I think I'd had a lot of bacteria still because I was craving things like processed food, sweets, sugary drinks, snacks, you know, constantly wanting to snack. And then I developed the sinus issues. And, you know, I had an operation on my sinuses to try and fix them, but it didn't fix them. So I was still getting sinus infections every 3 to 4 weeks. And each time I would go to the doctors and they would give me antibiotics and steroid drops. And that just basically reset everything. Like everything just went to rat shit, you know. My bacteria kind of got destroyed again. I had to try and build it up again. I'd go through the process of, you know, having food in my number 2s again and stuff like that. And I think it was really important to identify that antibiotics, as much as they kind of like clear up an infection here, they actually do a lot of damage around here. So before Christmas, I had a sinus infection, like a really bad one, and it made my face swell up here. I know I've got a bull head anyway, but like it made all this swell up, and basically my face was in agony, like pure agony. Loads of like discharge. I was snoring more than I normally do. It was just, it was really bad. But what I decided to do is, rather than go, because I knew I was going to come on this journey, but rather than go to the doctor and get antibiotics, which I knew again would destroy my good bacteria in my gut, I decided to just do shit. So basically rinse it out every morning and every night. And I had some steroid drops. So after I rinsed it and it was all clear, I'd go and drop some steroid drops in. And then on the night time, I'd do the same. Now this did actually clear it. My smell's not back 100% yet. I can't smell gas, which is weird because I'm a gas man and I should be able to smell gas, but I can't. So I've had to buy like a little machine to smell it for me. Plus there's tests we do as well to make sure that there is no gas leaks and nothing bad's going on. But it is getting better. And as a result of not having the antibiotics before Christmas, my gut's doing all right. It's actually doing all right. There's no food in my number 2s or anything like that. I feel like when I have a meal, when it starts digesting, I feel better. I'm not craving sugar. I'm not craving snacks, fizzy drinks. So I believe that's probably the best thing I could have done for me. It's not going to be for everyone, but for me, it's the best thing I've done. Moving forward, I'm going to be taking the little, I think they're like a milkshake drink, and you can get them from Biomel, but there's loads of other different people you can get them from, but they're the ones that kind of worked for me before. So I'm going to do like a month's course on them. Quite expensive. I think it's about 36 quid for 30 days or 28 days, 36 quid. But you have a shot with your breakfast and that increases the good bacteria in your gut as well. So I'm going to try that as well. I'm also going to be taking something called betaine with my breakfast. So not with my breakfast, in fact, you take it about half an hour before you have a meal. And I'm going to be taking that, and that's a digestive enzyme. And that helps basically increase all your digestive juices so your food digests better and quicker. And I'm hoping that if it digests better and quicker, that my body will start pulling the nutrients it needs from it as a result. I'm also going to be taking something called amino acids, so L-facing amino acids. Now I spoke to a guy in America who, just over Facebook, who actually cured his psoriasis well, he thinks this is what it was, because this is the only thing different he did, was L-facing amino acids and betaine. Now I'm hoping that, I'm not quite sure what they do, but I know that a lot of people take them, especially bodybuilders as well. And I'm hoping that that does help with my psoriasis, which, to be fair, being on this diet and not eating processed stuff and not eating loads of sugar has improved a little bit. Not loads, it hasn't disappeared. I'm hoping like gradual improvement and then it will go. And I'm going to touch on psoriasis and how it's affected us in the next video. And maybe not the next one, but in another video. So that's my vitamins and deficiencies explained. My blood results were all done before Christmas. And like I say, I'm deficient in B12, I'm deficient in vitamin D, but everything else appears to be normal. So I've got no concerns. My doctor's got no concerns that I'm poorly or anything like that. There is something called pernicious anemia, which stops you absorbing B12, but that would normally show us like other deficiencies like iron and folate levels as well, which mine are perfectly fine. So the doctor's not concerned about me having any kind of anemia. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a bit long and drawn out, but it's imperative I tell you about it, because I believe this is what's actually making me feel like shit, or contributing to making me feel like shit and making me not want to work out and do stuff. And if this has helped any of you guys, if any of you can relate to any of this, drop me a comment. Remember, I ain't a GP, I'm not a doctor or physician or, you know, an expert. This is stuff that I've pulled from ChatGPT, pulled from YouTube and Google and, you know, Facebook and TikTok and stuff like that. This is what other people have said. But these social media platforms do have some really, really knowledgeable people on. And, you know, they do have experts on. And if you can garner all that information from all them and take bits that you need, you can actually make your own mind up what's going on. And you can help yourself. And this is what I'm hoping to do. I want to help myself rather than relying on doctors and antidepressants and antibiotics and all that sort of stuff. So once again, thank you for your time. Drop me a like, guys. And if you've got any hints and tips, and, you know, if you want to have a bit of a chat about vitamins, or, you know, if I'm completely wrong, drop me a comment. And I'm trying to get my content out there. So if you could just drop us a share, that would be great.